going on, guys? I'm Chad.
And I'm Gavin.
Welcome to episode 8 of the Skunk Ape podcast. And today we are going to talk about Gavin's favorite thing to talk about.
Turtles. We're finally getting into it. It's been 8
Finally talking
episodes.
turtles. So I know that I'm going to have a lot of questions because, unfortunately or fortunately, I was just given 2 turtles. And I put them in a little pond on the front of the house. I kind of stole that Aqua Rep
The style.
turtle pond design and just going with it. I mean, it's a nice little thing. It's bad when I get an animal and I have no idea what they are or anything like that. Don't recommend, by the way. But when you're trying to start a reptile rescue and all that stuff, and somebody's getting rid of something, and you have 2 turtles that were in a 20 long, and you're just trying to do something a little bit better. So that's what I did, and I had to text you a picture of them when I got home because my friend Chris put them on my front porch and set them all up, and I'm like, what are these? What do I do with them? So Gavin was kind enough to find out that they are river cooters.
Yep.
They're about 4 inches across.
Yeah,
I think.
I'd say so.
And I mean, they swim around in the tub, and they look a little bit happy. They're a little timid.
Yeah, it takes a while for them to get used to you. I still have turtles that I've had for about a year now, and they don't want anything to do with me. Or I have others that will literally swim up to me and like beg for food and let me pet them and all that. So it really just depends on the turtle.
And honestly, I mean, the biggest reason I got him was my son. He loves turtles, and why not put a couple turtles on the front porch? So he's all like, "Can I touch the turtle?" And I'm like, "Salmonella, no." And I'm like, "Whatever, just wash your hands, dude. Just have a good time with them. Don't overfeed them." And he's happy to feed them and stuff. So we gave him some greens today when we got home, and some aquatic turtle food. And honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing other than feed them and feed them. You know?
I mean, that's kind of the basics for all reptiles. But I mean, like I said, I'm down to answer any questions you have and like just talk about turtles this episode. Like I know for diet wise, I mean, greens and pellets are definitely recommended. Like for all mine, I've kind of been slacking on greens a little bit, but I usually try and go for like greens daily, and then pellets I usually do daily and every other day. Also daily, I do greens once a day, and I'll do pellets twice a day. And then sometimes I'll like throw in like shrimp or pinky mice or quail or kind of just anything. I like to give them some protein every once in a while. So if you ever accidentally thaw out too many, just throw it in with the turtles. They'll love it.
Oh wow! Yeah, I mean, and now as far as stuff that you buy over the counter, I mean, what they came with some, I think it's Zoom Ed. Aquatic turtle food.
That's honestly my favorite brand to use is the Zoom Ed one.
Well, that works then. I'm doing something right.
But I do like to throw I like to do varied diets for everything. So like I do different brands. So I do the Zoom Ed. It's probably my go-to. I also like I think it's Exoterra, the Reptisticks, like the green little stick looking ones.
Yeah.
And then I also like Flukers makes like a blend, and it's like pellets, freeze-dried mealworms, freeze-dried shrimp, and something else, and I'll do that as well. And so they kind of get a bit of every single thing that you can offer a turtle to get.
Well, and I was gonna ask you about that because I know I've seen I thought Zoom Ed made one that was kind of a mix of the mealworms and the pellets and the krill and whatnot. And I was wondering, I mean, is that actually worth its weight in gold with feeding them? I mean, a varied diet. I mean,
yeah, I like it, and I have some turtles that are like very picky. Like when I do give them that like the mix of the pellets and the shrimp and mealworms, they'll only go for the shrimp or mealworms, and like they'll just leave the pellets. So I definitely think it's worth it. They do seem to enjoy it for the most part. I do have some that will only eat pellets. I have one turtle that pretty much only eats pellets no matter what. Like he won't eat greens, won't eat anything else, and it's a normal yellow belly slider. He's just super picky, I guess. I've had him for about 6 months now.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a new thing to me. I mean, I caught turtles growing up, and I mean, my dad would bring turtles home from job sites when he found them. I mean, there was one time he found some fresh soft shell turtles and brought them
That's
home and
awesome.
threw them in our koi pond. Never saw them again after that, but I mean, we threw them in the koi pond and that was that. Um, so like turtles are kind of a new thing for me. It's not anything that I've been like, oh, I want to keep because you always get told how nasty turtles are
And they are.
how they you shouldn't put them in a tank. So tanks are stupid to put turtles in, but yet everybody sells these 20 longs with the hole in the side. You put the hang on the back filter in, and they say this is great for turtles, and I'm like, but turtles need a lot of filtration. I would think. I mean, I know they live in ponds, but a lot more of them live in river systems than ponds, right?
Yeah, from my understanding, I I I don't know. Like, I don't have a problem with turtles and tanks. I've heard the argument, like, I think it's like tortoises can't see through glass and, like, they can, like, get really fucked up. They're, like, something happens with tortoises in tanks. But I know a lot of people personally that keep turtles in tanks. I raise a lot of my babies up in tanks. I do always try and give them ponds, like the little Rubbermaid ponds. But if I need to do a tank, I'll do a tank. It's a lot easier to clean out a tank than like a 50 to 100 gallon pond.
Yeah.
But the filtration, I think, filtering, I think that's definitely a good idea. But at the same time, like, my outdoor ponds don't really have any filtration on them at all, and I just do frequent water changes. That's kind of just how.
What percent? Now, what percent water change do you do? Like 50%?
Oh, I do 100%.
Oh,
yeah. Maybe like 90 to 80%, but I drain pretty much most of the water, and just a lot. Sometimes, like, I'd say, I probably, when I'm not running any filtrations, because I do have some like little fountains I'll set up. It's just right now my electrical cord broke, and I've just been too lazy to go get a new one. So when I'm not doing filtrations, I'm doing a water change like every other day, every 3 days. So like, and when I'm doing that, I'd say every 2 weeks I'll do like a complete water change where I'll empty out everything, spray it all down, scrub the sides of all the algae, and then fill it back up.
Yeah. Now, well, the nice thing is too is it's on my front porch, so I have these nice flower beds in the front of my house.
Mm-hmm.
I got rose bushes right in front of them, so I'm like, geez, as soon as I start draining the water out of this, my rose bush are gonna be happy.
Oh, I've noticed like the plants around my area go crazy. I mean, the turtle poop does wonders.
Yeah. So I mean that's a plus on that end. I mean, eventually I'm going to get them some more water. I think I told you I want to take like a 5-gallon bucket, drill some holes in it, and put some liner in it, and then put lava rock in the bottom of it, and then put some plants and stuff. I mean,
that'd be awesome.
Bioactive the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't know, like, I mean, turtles eat vegetation. What kind of vegetation do I use? I know you have papyrus in some of your stuff.
Yeah, and I think papyrus, like, I have turtles that, like, my sliders and my cooters, like, they eat anything green. They, like, I just put duckweed in there, like a huge thing of duckweed in there, probably like about 50 minutes ago. Covered the whole pond. I were to bet after this recording, it's gonna be all gone. Like, they eat anything green in that tank, but they don't touch the papyrus. So I think there's something like, and I mean, if you smell papyrus and like if you break it and like taste your fingers, there's like a little weird something going on. So I think there's like a deterrent on it, like to keep animals from eating it. So I do recommend papyrus, but other than that, I don't really know. like my sliders and cooters are unstoppable, but then like my side necks and my soft shells, they don't mess with like vegetation at all. So it does depend on species.
Well, speaking of side necks, now I actually have a spot that I can put those pink belly side necks.
I still got them. Someone tried to buy them off me.
I told you if you had somebody to buy.
No. I was holding it for you.
I do have some gar guys incubating out there, so maybe we can work out a deal for some pink belly side necks and albino soft shell.
I'm down. I mean, hopefully I'll be getting some fucking eggs for my pink belly soon. Like, I mean, I have a big group. I mean, I have a 2.3 group right now. Yeah, 2.3. I think, like, so your pair's in there. So, I mean, like, they're all pretty much ready to go. I think maybe my females. I have one female that I know for sure is big enough. but maybe my
Yeah.
others are a little too small. But Turtles game is a waiting game, so I can't really rush it. It'll happen when it happens, I guess.
Yeah, and that was kind of the other thing that I was thinking about with doing the pond up top. If I offset the pond a little bit and put a decent sized pump in the bottom of it, getting like a one of those concrete mixing tubs.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like 6 inches deep,
Yeah.
and you can get them in different sizes. I was thinking about making a frame that went over top of it and kind of was leaned towards the pond itself, and put like like an herb garden in there, and just kind of do like an aquaponics system and have that kind of
That'd be sweet.
filter some of the stuff out. I mean,
That'd be really cool, actually. Holy, yeah, I like that. There's a term for that. Serpa Designs. He just made a video a couple weeks ago, and he basically did that. Like he had like a big 8-foot long glass tank he fully built out, bioactive, like fish tank or whatever, and then on top of it he fully planted it out and had the water run through it like basically what you're describing. It's sweet. Yeah. It's like a refugium, but on top.
Well, I mean, I know, especially down in Florida, a lot more people are starting to do that because the soil sucks in Florida, so they're doing like aquaponics and stuff. And I actually, the first reason I found out about that whole idea was actually at Disney.
Yeah, right? Yeah. The what is it, Epcot?
Yeah, at Epcot they have, and guys, I don't care if you're an animal guy, or well, obviously if you're listening in, you're an animal person. If you're not a Disney person or anything, you want to talk about the coolest ride.
Oh, I love it.
The land at Epcot is like the coolest ride because it's like you ride through this little riverboat ride, and then you go through a giant greenhouse, which is like 4 times the size of my house, if not bigger.
It's huge.
And they have, I mean, cotton growing in there. They have, orange trees,
dragon
trees,
fruit,
banana trees. Huh?
They have dragon fruit. I don't know why that's the one that I remember. They have every single thing you can think of. They have growing in there. It's wild.
And then they have like strawberry plants and watermelons that they collect in a net and they grow down from the ceiling, kind of like those topsy-turvy things, but they grow everything. And then they go through and they tell you how everything they grow there is all the water from their American alligators, their prawns, their catfish, and I forget what the other
tilapia. They have a shit ton of tilapia.
Which is just proof that if you have enough money, you can have whatever you want because tilapia are illegal in Florida. Yet they have thousands of it.
Are they illegal?
Yeah, tilapia are illegal in Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
They're
damn. I know some people that can get in trouble.
Well, so I mean that's what I've heard. Well, that's what I've heard. And my son watches this YouTube video or this YouTube channel called, I don't even know what it's called, but he calls it the Blue Shirt Guy. This guy lives down in Florida, and he lives down in South Florida, and he goes and catches fish out of, puts fish traps down in sewers and drains and goes into these old ponds and stuff and catches, he catches snakeheads. He's caught baby alligators in fish traps, arowanas, African cichlids, Texas cichlids.
Everything. Everything's in those waters.
Everything. And then he was like, oh, this is tilapia. We can't take that to our pond because you can't move them from pond to pond. And I'm like, huh. I didn't realize tilapia were illegal in Florida. Yes, they are. I mean, I don't know why they would. I mean, I guess I understand why they would be because they're invasive. And
yeah, but I'm pretty sure they're an introduced species from FWC. Like carp.
Well,
who knows?
That's just what I assume. But anyway, with the land is they use all of that water and they filter it with their plants. So they grow all these really awesome plants, and I was like, well, that's a cool idea. And even in college, in my geography class, I talked about how my whole big project was about aquaponics and how you can do aquaponics, how much it costs to do it all, why you would do it, where you would use it. And I learned a lot about it, and then I'm like, well, everybody talks about, for one, how hard it is to filter water for monitor lizards, like water monitors,
Mm-hmm.
and then how hard it is to filter water for aquatic turtles. So I'm like, well, I have aquatic turtles, crocodilians,
I don't
and
think
water mammals.
I don't think filtering aquatic turtles is hard. I think people are just dumb. Like I have never had an issue with it. Like I don't know where that comes from. I just think people are too lazy. I think people rely on solely a filter and don't know what the fuck a water change is. Like coming from like I think with you and me and like I think coming with that fish background, like we both have plenty of experience with keeping fish. We're used to doing water changes. A lot of these reptile people, they hardly change their water bowls.
You're gonna hate me for this right now. I had a 29-gallon reef tank.
Mm-hmm.
That all I ever did was top it off with.
Trust me, I've had plenty. I'm not gonna hate you for that at all. I've had plenty of fish tanks that I've never done water changes, but I mean, they're the reef tanks, and mine were fully planted tanks. Like they have the corals and the plants and stuff filtering the water out itself.
And I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I definitely did. I definitely did water testing on it often.
Mm-hmm.
But my theory was, if it's not messed up, the only thing I could do if I add water to it is mess it up.
Yeah, I think Mitchell and I talked about that briefly towards the end of our episode. Was if your fish tank is like if you're doing weekly water changes and you all of a sudden stop, then you'll have an issue because your tank's used to doing weekly water changes. If you aren't doing like if you're not doing water changes on your tank and then you all of a sudden start doing weekly water changes, you're gonna fuck your tank up. It's just if your tank's not, you just gotta let it do what it's used to. Like let it get established and let the tank do its thing. You gotta go off what the tank is, not what other people say and what you think you should be doing. Like if your water's testing fine, your tank's fine.
Yeah. Now with that being said too, and circling back to the turtle aspect of things, so and this is my own ignorance because, like I said, I've never really kept them. Is there a cycle factor that you have to worry about with aquatic turtles, or because they come out of the water, you don't have to worry about it?
Maybe with super delicate species, but I would say no. I mean, I don't even treat my water. I just use straight tap water. I don't even put dechlorinator in there.
You savage.
I mean, I don't. I just use straight tap water, and I've been doing that for years now, and I've never had issues with it. I mean, I don't know what made me stop doing it. I tried it one day and they didn't die, and I tried it again, they didn't die, and I was like, all right, if I notice any signs, I'll see what's going on. But yeah, I've never had any issues with that. I mean, my water seems fine. The turtles seem fine. They do like it. Like I don't know. I've always said turtles do like dirtier water. So I mean, if my water's somewhat dirty, I'm not gonna stress too much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that. I mean, I never really pay attention, but I don't. Like, even in the springs in Florida, I never remember seeing turtles hanging out in the springs.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely will see, like, some cooters and sliders, like, some big ones. Like, you'll see a ton of them. Like, they definitely do hang out in the springs, but a lot of them hang out in, like, murky water. They're not always in the springs.
Okay. They're all over the Florida River.
Yeah.
Hillsborough River. I've done that canoe trip a few times, and
yeah, they're all. I mean, I know they're all over the Santa Fe River and Itchnicktuckney Springs. Like they are all over springs and it's clear water. It's just, I don't know. I mean, my turtles, they don't act any different when my water's crystal clear versus like right now when the water's straight green. Like doesn't affect them at all.
Well, it sounds like you need to do a water change tomorrow and clean up here.
I actually did a water change this morning, so it's not straight green as of 9 hours or 12 hours ago.
Now, the other thing is like, turtles will eat everything. Turtles are natural predators. They eat fish. I mean, they eat everything.
Yeah.
So, do you keep anything with your aquatic turtle? Because, I mean, like, I know there's tadpoles in this water. Mm-hmm. So,
I want to. I really want to. I know there's a way I could. But I just haven't really been able to figure it out / find the right species. Like any small fish gets eaten. I have done a bass in there. I've done a bass, a couple big bluegill in there with them, and they were fine. I did notice the bluegill got nipped a little bit, like at their fins, so I did end up transferring them out. But yeah, I think the only thing that I had in there that I think would have survived, it only passed away due to my dumbass. But I had a big, about, I think you measured out at 13-inch watermelon pleco. So I think like big pleco, like armored fish would do fine. But then you don't want to do like big monster fish because then those fish will fuck with the turtles.
Right.
So it's just like about finding the right fish, and I think it also does depend on your turtle. For the most part, I would always say they're going to eat the fish, but I have had the instance where I put in a bunch of feeder fish in for my turtles, and they'll eat a few of them, and then they'll leave like the rest of them, like until those fish just
Right.
pass away.
Yeah, and I mean, and I know with the crocodilians, I always tell people, or I've always been told, and I know people tell people that you don't ever want to put turtles with crocodilians because, or at least baby crocodilians,
Hmm.
because they do like to nip toes. Like my
Yeah.
Capen, for example, he's got nipped toes. Why does he have nipped toes? Oh, well, the guy kept him with turtles.
Hmm.
So,
I
I mean,
see. So I have the experience with the St. Augustine alligator farm, and I think every single enclosure has a turtle with their crocodilians. Every single one.
and I think there's something to be said with like adults.
Hmm. Oh,
Like,
I mean,
I
like
see
even
that.
like the younger crocodilians, like our hatchlings don't, but like our, like I say, yearlings definitely. There's definitely some yearling cages that have turtles in it, and like, and I'm talking about like they have some big species of turtle, like uh, some big podoc species like Expansa, and I think they have some big Uniphilus. I'll throw up pictures. Yellow spotted river turtle is the Uniphilus, and then I don't know the common name for Expansa. But I mean, like those are some turtles that get like 40, 50 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, and like, I mean, I'll be honest with you. All those turtle names you just threw up there, I'm gonna look back at this video and go like, "What are those?"
Well,
Because
I'll throw up
signing,
pictures so when we're watching this live, you can just see
yeah,
it.
throw up some pictures because I know I'm gonna need to see the pictures. Because again, when it comes to aquatic turtles, I am ignorant as all hell. I mean, I know what a bottom turtle or bottom snapping turtle looks like. I now know the difference between a common snapper and a Florida snapper. Uh, and I know everybody knows what an alligator snapping
Yeah.
turtle looks like. I mean,
You know what a river
uh,
cooter looks like now?
I do know what a river cooter is. I don't know that I could tell the difference between a river cooter and uh, I mean, a slider, like just by looking at it. Uh,
That's how I was like. I'd say it was June. Yeah, about a year ago today. About a year ago this time, I was the same. I had, by then I had maybe 10 turtles. Like I had a couple musk turtles. I had my albino Chinese, and I had some morph sliders. And then
yeah,
I had some baby sliders that I had hatched out. But that was it. And I didn't know how to tell the difference between any types of turtle. I didn't know any scientific names. I didn't know anything about turtles. And
yeah,
I guess I just kind of dove in like I normally do about these species, and I just start super researching. And
yeah,
I started because I got all these ponds, and I started, just getting addicted to them. So I started making posts on Craigslist and like Facebook saying I have, at the time I think I had 6 ponds. I was like, I have 6 ponds and I'm taking in turtles. And I started just taking in turtles that people had in like 20-gallon tanks, 10-gallon tanks, just that were way too big that they had to get rid of. And I'm getting these turtles, and I don't know what the fuck I'm even getting. I'm just looking at these turtles, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? I'm like, I think this is. I remember the first two I got were, I was told they were Cumberland sliders, and I was like, oh, I love these Cumberland sliders, so cool. And like 4 months later, I posted a picture of them, and someone was like, those are not Cumberland sliders. Those aren't even sliders. Those are Florida river cooters. And so then I asked some buddies of mine that like know what they're talking about, and they were like, "Yeah, those are Florida river cooters." I was like, "Well, shit, I've been wrong about this for like 4 months." So then I started just basically sending pictures off of everything I had, and getting it ID'd, and then looking at like what other people saying, like identification groups, turtle identification groups, and just scrolling through posts and just trying to learn what species is what they look like, and how to tell the difference between the two. And now, like, I'm pretty confident I can name a decent amount of turtles. Like, if someone's giving away a turtle here in Florida, I feel like for the most part I could identify what it was.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember being when I worked at the pet store, and we had mud turtles, we had musk turtles, we had red-eared sliders, we had painted purple. We had red-eared sliders up until the red-eared sliders were
not allowed,
banned, and then we just had yellow bellies and painted turtles. And it's like, this one's got ridges on its back. It's got to be a musk turtle. I'm probably wrong about that.
Yeah, I actually the musk turtles I'm not very familiar with. I've gotten a few musk turtles that like I had no idea what they were, and it took me. I had one musk turtle that like I posted in groups, and people they were stumped. They were like, yeah, we're not really too sure. Like, we think it could be this or this or this. One of these three options. So I'm just like, what even is this turtle?
Now, so one of them that I remember vividly that I would get all the time, I always thought it was a musk turtle. And again, they do not teach you anything when you go to most pet stores and you work in a pet store. You just have to assume you know what you're talking about. And
yeah, you learn with experience.
And the one that I had was, I always thought it was the musk, is it had obviously it was a more round shell, but it had these ridges on the back. And it had like a more jagged rear end to it on the scoots. The rear scoots were kind of jagged. I was like, that sounds like a musk turtle, because I always read that mud turtles have a nice round domed shell. I was like, well, this has to be a musk turtle. Am I right? I don't know. But I'm going to assume that it was a musk turtle, because we had musks, we had painteds, we had yellow bellies.
Could have been a map turtle.
That was the other one, map turtles.
Because they had like map turtles, especially as babies, have like really like jagged like.
Oh well, then yeah, I've sold many map turtles with musk turtles.
They'll find out like 10 years later. They probably are finding out now that it's not a musk turtle.
Jeez.
It's like 15 inches long.
Yeah, like I said, I'm completely ignorant when it comes to this. But there are some really pretty aquatic turtles.
Oh, there's so many. Yeah.
You just got those albino soft shells, and
so I'm in love with them.
I've never seen something that looked as nice as those albino soft shells.
I've seen pictures of them, and like I knew they looked cool, but seeing them in person and having them in my hands, they are by far the coolest looking turtle I have ever seen in my life. It's an albino Florida softshell hatchling, for those of y'all wondering specifics. I'll throw up pictures of mine specifically, but they're so cool. Like way cool.
The only thing that I would say that, and I wish I could have them here, but because we can't differentiate, because Fish and Wildlife here can't differentiate terrapins from other terrapins. Is I would love to have an ornate terrapin.
I love terrapins.
And all terrapins are illegal to have here.
Yeah, they're legal here now too. I had one. I did have one though, and she was awesome. I had a beautiful ornate diamondback. I'll have to send you pictures, but it sucked when they banned them.
And when I was working for Culligan, doing all the water purification stuff, one of my clients was the Virginia Aquarium.
Oh, really?
In Norfolk, and we did all their DI system for all their reef, reef tanks and stuff like that. So we got to do that. They did some cleaning and stuff with them. So I knew about it. And what was really cool is to know both sides of it. So it's like, oh, you can do this. And they're like, why are you not working here? You're working for Culligan. And I said, because I don't have a degree, so I can't work in an aquarium. And I almost fell into their shark tank.
Oh, shit.
But but they had some diamondback terrapins in the back, and I was like, well, what's going on with diamondback terrapins? And they told me that, well, we keep them in a freshwater enclosure on display, and they actually like salt water, so we give them a saltwater bath for a couple weeks and let them hang out in salt water, and then we move them back because it makes them healthier. And I was like, huh, I would have never, I never would have known.
Yeah, they definitely do like brackish water. I've never, I mean, full salt makes sense. Like I've seen them in full salt water before. Um, I when I got mine, I pretty much kept her in brackish for a good while, and then I slowly transitioned her to full fresh water, and then eventually just had her full fresh.
Yeah, and I forget the big reason why they switched them back and forth. But,
I mean, they're a zoo. I mean, they have the abilities to do that, and that's probably what's best for them. To be honest, is to switch them back and forth.
Yeah.
If I had the space and knowledge that they have, and money, I'd probably definitely do that.
But and I will say it's definitely if you're a fish person, I would definitely say if you have the ability or you have if they do it at your local aquarium, go do like a backstage tour because to see all their facilities and how they do everything,
it's awesome.
I was like a kid in a candy shop, dude. It was so cool, except for the part where, like I said, I almost fell into the shark enclosure because I guess the shark tank because I leaned over the edge to look at something and they're like, oh, that railing's a little isn't really held on very well, and as I'm almost falling in, I'm like, oh, that would have been great. Could you imagine that story on the news? Stupid guy falls into shark aquarium.
But yeah, there's definitely like tons of pretty turtles. I mean, like the Peninsula Cooter. I mean, like the one I have, that one is like insane. I know you really like that little Rio Grande right here, the small one I have with all the stripes.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, there's tons of pretty ones, and then there's morphs, and then the morphs get crazy too. Like there's some crazy pretty morphs out there.
Well, you know how I feel about morphs. Mm-hmm. Sorry, everybody. I'm not a huge.
I completely understand.
I'm not a huge morph fan. But like, what's that? You have that Indian spotted turtle too, right?
Oh yeah, that's a gorgeous species right there.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like the sky's the limit when it comes to aquatic turtles because there's just so many different types.
There's unlimited options. It's awesome.
and one thing I didn't realize when I lived here because I never really ran into any box turtles.
Mm-hmm.
But I went over to Tristan's place. He's got this big creek that runs down his property, and we go down there, and you, like every 5 feet you walk, there's box turtles down in the creek.
What? That's awesome.
And I'm like, like I said, box turtles go in water? He goes, yeah, you didn't know that? I was like, no.
Yeah,
I just thought box turtles walked around like tortoises, and they were just like turtle tortoises.
No, they're semi-aquatic. There's some a lot of the Chinese the Asian box turtles, the Cora. A lot of them are like almost fully aquatic. Like I know Cora ambiensis or ambioensis. I'm sorry. The Asian box turtle, I think, is the common name. They're pretty much just like red ear sliders.
Oh.
Like you keep them the same you would any slider. They're basically fully aquatic.
And I mean, the only other turtle that I've ever owned was the hingeback turtles.
Oh, that's sweet. The hingeback tortoises?
Yeah. Well, it was labeled as a hingeback turtle, so I was like, cool, I'll get one of these. It was super cool, and I guess they're tortoise. So.
Well, I mean, it could have been a different type of turtle species that was mislabeled. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I know there is a hingeback tortoise as well.
Yeah, so it was probably a hingeback tortoise, but it was labeled as turtle.
Yeah, they're cool. I see. I haven't really dabbled. Like I do. I've worked with some really cool turtle species. Or tortoise species, and I am familiar with tortoises, but I don't own any personally. I do want to dabble in the tortoise game soon, and it will happen. But I just want to get. I just want to get more space, to be honest.
Well, I do know somebody who's hatching out some some redfoots here probably any day now.
Yeah.
So if you want a redfoot, I can get you a heck of a deal on a redfoot.
Maybe. I was looking for redfoots, and my buddy has a group of it's some crazy genetic redfoots, and he gave me a good price, but kind of just want like a singular animal or maybe two. So I'll be hitting you up after we record.
well, again, shout out to Wes because Wes apparently breeds everything. And
I'm gonna message him after this video after we record this.
Because I was like, hey man, because Chris was like, yeah, Wes probably has some redfoot tortoises. I was like, oh cool, I want a redfoot because we have the big sulcata that runs around outside in the summertime, and then we have the leopard tortoise here. That's my son's that I got him last year for his birthday. And shout out to Carapace Critters, she's awesome. That's where I got her from. She has some of the nicest cherry heads and leopard tortoises that I've seen. And I mean, she's great. She even checks in on how's everything doing. Awesome. How's your tortoise doing? And I mean, she's awesome. I would love to have her on the podcast, but she's a single mom and she does all the tortoise stuff herself, and she's a busy lady, but I mean, definitely one of those people that you look out for when you look for in a breeder. Mm-hmm. She asks you all the questions and makes sure that her turtles are going to a great home.
That's awesome.
Shipping was a breeze, and but the aquatic turtle thing was always one of those do I don't I have the young kid and all those things.
Well, young kids love turtles.
They do, but again, it's all those things of like I remember the signs at the pet stores. Like we had one too that aquatic turtles are for scientific purposes only, and this, that, and the other. You couldn't sell them as pets because of all the diseases that they could potentially hold.
Yeah, I know. At least in Florida, I think it's a nationwide. If they're under 4 inches, they have to be labeled or sold as scientific purposes because of the size. I didn't know it had to do with a disease thing, but I don't know.
Well, it could be because of the size. I just know that the number one thing you hear about salmonella is aquatic turtles are the highest carrier of salmonella and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. And
just put hand sanitizer on or wash your hands after you deal with them. Yeah. But I guess for a little kid, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, little kids put their hands in their mouth. I mean, my son will go touches chickens or touches ducks, and he goes, oh. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so gross. But
touching chickens and then putting your hands in your mouth will probably give you just salmonella as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's so we're trying to enforce that if you touch anything that's alive, go wash your hands. And again, it's one of those. It's easier said than done.
Yeah,
kind of thing. But no, I'm excited about having turtles now. Mm-hmm. He's definitely really excited about it, and it's a new adventure.
Yeah. So what are your plans on the setup? Are you gonna do the bog filter, or what do you plan on doing there?
Well, so I definitely think I'm gonna lean towards that aquaponics setup. Try to do that. I mean, because I have a whole bunch of lumber just sitting in the back, and it's just withering away. So I'm like, maybe I'll just cut this out and do a little angled shelf with this thing, and
that'd be sweet.
And do a little herb garden on the front porch and stuff. And, just filter that all through there. Just fill it up with pea gravel.
Yeah.
And plant plants in that, and see how it does. I mean, I want to say herb garden because you only have so much room in one of those mixing tubs, but I think that's kind of what I want to do, and then do like a little plant inside of it, or
that'd be cool.
Something.
Yeah, you could do like a pot with like literally a pot with papyrus just in the center of it.
Do you know how hard it is for me to get papyrus here?
Yeah, you've mentioned that a couple times to me. I don't. That's so weird.
I can't find papyrus anywhere.
That's crazy.
It's super strange. Like even some of the like aquatic or the pond stores,
Mm-hmm.
They don't have it. They're like, we have lilies. I was like, I don't want lilies. I want papyrus. I want some bog plant style things. But so I might just have to order some off Amazon because I found some on Amazon that I can order. And yeah,
That sucks.
I, yeah.
That really sucks.
And it's one of those things you take for granted when you live in a place like Florida, and then you move out of Florida, and you like can't find half the stuff you used to find. Because like even
no, you can
what was that?
You can keep going.
Well, I mean, like even the quality of koi, like I can't find good quality koi here at all.
Really?
But down there, it's like great quality koi. Yeah,
there's a shit ton of good koi breeders here and importers.
If I wanted some good Japanese koi, I might as well just order them offline.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I think New York there's a great guy up in New York that's got like some of the best from Japan.
Yeah. I mean, I used to go to a place called Westside Pets when I was younger. When we had 3 koi ponds in our backyard then, and he had imported Japanese koi, and I used way back then. I used to know all the names of all the things, like all the different like color races, what they were called. But again, that's knowledge that was lost because I just stopped doing it and stopped caring all that much.
Yeah.
And then we had a place called Pondscapes. It wasn't Pondscapes, Pondscapes. And they had like a 14-foot deep pond and like all outside. They had some like koi that's
sweet.
Their heads were as big as my fist, and they had those little concrete ponds that you could get stuff out of. And I mean, they had some really neat stuff, and we got some fish from there. But when I moved up to just north of Tampa is when we had a big pond. I mean, I think it was like 4,000 gallons or something like that.
Oh wow, that's huge.
But we ended up getting lucky and breeding our own koi there.
Oh, and, yeah.
Just out of sheer dumb luck, we woke up one morning and there were baby koi in the pond, and we're like, okay,
that's awesome.
So it's just amazing how you go different areas, and even up in Oregon, we had a great fish spot right up in Eugene. It was called Aqua Serene, and they had a lot of cool koi and stuff. But they were kind of hobnobby. If you didn't do a Planet Aquarium, you were blacklisted, and they didn't want to talk to you unless you did Planet Aquariums. And I'm like, I'm a Fahaka puffer. I can't have plants. Like, he'll uproot it. And I had African cichlids, and African cichlids, you're going to eat up all the plants. So, but it's definitely a thing that you go and regionally you can't get a lot of the stuff, which is great about some of these, like these online classified ads or classified things like Morph Market or Fauna Classified. You can find everything you want.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're dealing with wild caught animals, sometimes you're dealing with captive bred, and you kind of pick and choose, and then you can start talking to the breeders. And honestly, how I do it is I find the breeder on there, and then I go reach out to them and I start talking to them. And if I have questions about a species that I might have, if they're a great reputable breeder, they'll want to make sure that their animal's going to a good spot. So because there's so many different aquatic turtles, I would think that's a good thing to go with, because you can have all the groups on Facebook and stuff, but
talking to breeders directly is the move. There's too many people that claim to know I mean, you can say this about everything, and especially everything in reptiles, but there is a lot of people that claim to know what they're talking about with turtles and don't know shit. And like, I'll say I'm one of those people. Like I know earlier I said like I can tell the difference between a lot of turtles, but I really don't know shit. I'm still very, very new in the turtle game. It's only been like coming on 3 years now, so I'm very, very new to the turtle game. I haven't even dipped my toes in the water yet, and so that's why I do go to. I have friends that have been in the game for a while and been breeding for a while. Like, I mean, and so I do go to people that I trust that have been in this game for 10 plus years.
Yeah, I mean, and again, with there's how many different species of aquatic turtles? I have no idea. I don't even think
There's like 400 and something.
that's it, really.
Yeah, or I think it's like 382. That's what I'm gonna say. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, but I want to say it's 382.
That's a lot less than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, Thai Park says half of them.
Jesus, must be nice. Um, but like I know that my buddy Justin, he breeds turtles,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying to breed that alligator snapper, common snapper hybrid,
Good luck.
and yeah, and he's also got some Mexican musk turtle eggs, and he just hatched one of them out recently. I think I talked about that on one of the podcasts, and I mean, but he does all his stuff, and he grows vegetables with. He filters all his stuff through his vegetable garden.
I would love to see that setup. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. And I know he was talking to me about trying to get some daylight videos of it, and I was like, well, that's kind of tough because we kind of film everything at night unless we figure out a time where we can video in the daytime. But he was like, yeah, I'll give you a tour of everything. I was like,
that'd be awesome.
That's a lot. He's got crocodilians, he's got his turtles and all that stuff, and I mean, he's got.
Hey, I'm down for that on the podcast episode. That'd be sweet. We just got to figure out a day and time.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got at least 2 alligator snappers, and
I want one.
I'm just like, and he's got them in those. I think he's got 800-gallon blue, those 800-gallon blue
round tubs. Yep, I know exactly which ones you're talking about. My buddy's got one. A lot of my buddies have some. I know a lot of people that keep turtles in those.
And like there's just so much involved with it, and it's like, and the cool thing is too is you can kind of put a turtle with anything. Like even if you want to eat multiple species, if you have a
there definitely is some species you can't cohab and that don't do well cohabbing, and you just gotta be like you definitely can cohab. I mean, I know you've seen my turtles, and I know you've seen other people that cohab different species of turtles. It can be done, but when you, especially for the like anything when you're cohabbing, you definitely want to watch them for the first few weeks because they can nip at each other, even if they're the same species. But I mean, you give them enough room, you give them enough food and enough filtration, you can cohab a lot of species. I mean, like my baby pond, I have Chinese softshell, Florida softshell, razorback musk turtle, common musk turtle, Rio Grande red ear slider, Chinese golden thread, and an Indian spotted turtle, and pink belly side necks. So I have 8 different species in one pond. And there's no aggression, and especially because people love to say soft shells are aggressive, and they are. I mean, my soft shells, they're assholes towards me, but like my soft shells don't mess with my other turtles at all.
So now, how many different species of aquatic turtles do you have?
I just talked about this with my manager at PetSmart. I'll list them off. So I have Florida river cooters. I have Florida red belly cooters, peninsula cooters. I have red ear slider, yellow belly slider, razorback musk turtle, common musk turtle, Chinese golden thread, Chinese soft shell, Florida soft shell. Did I do the musk turtles yet? I don't know. Indian spotted turtle. Let's see, what else am I missing? Razorback musk turtle and common musk turtle. I think that's what I'm missing. I have 13 total species.
Oh, so you have a lot less than I thought you did. I was like,
I have 13 Yeah, I think I have 13 species, and like, I think I'm at around. I think I'm like 36 or 38 individuals. Most of them are yellow belly sliders, and yeah, a majority of them are yellow belly sliders.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, painted.
Painted turtles. I have painted turtles. Shit. So 14
You do have
species. Yeah,
so
14.
painted turtles are the ones that have the really nice marbling on
On like the
their back.
sides. Yeah, like
Oh,
on like the sides on the other underside they do have some nice marbling. Their backside, like the top of the carapace, like the top of the shell, for the
yeah.
most part is usually just pretty plain and dark. The southern painted turtles have an orange stripe that goes directly down vertically down their spine on the shell. Um, that's the only pattern or colored one shell wise on the painted turtles, but their underside is where all the color is. Like the under when you flip them over, like the sides of the shell on the eastern
Yeah.
painted turtles is a very like red and marbly. Their faces and arms have red stripes on them. Pretty much the same for the Midland painted turtle. Looks pretty similar. They just have a faint mark, like black spot in the center of their underside of the shell. And then the western painted turtles, their underside is like straight red, basically.
Oh wow. Well, I just learned a little bit about painted turtles. Crap.
Yeah, painted turtles are awesome. I mean, they have like an antifreeze in them, like basically built into them. So like like they have in simple terms, their blood has like an antifreeze in them that can prevent them that can let them fully freeze over, like completely be frozen and still live. Like they like basically super slow down their heart rate and blood flow and can basically withstand negative temperatures. Pretty cool. Painteds are awesome.
Jeez. I wish I could be a turtle sometimes. Holy crap, that'd be awesome. Just slow down. Because and the one thing that amazed me, like when I first saw these turtles, I was like, it looks like they look like a slider. Like if you look at this, like it's amazing. Like the markings on the head.
Mm-hmm.
At least with my turtles and what I know about sliders and all that stuff. Like the like the black or brown, whatever color you want to call it, and the yellow stripes all down their face.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like that's a really common thing with turtles. So it's like, oh yeah, this looks like a slider because
yeah.
And I'm looking at their face like, oh yeah, it's got to be a slider.
Yeah, the second you sent them to me, I was like, those look like river cooters. Like I want to say that's a river cooter. It looks like mine. And then as soon as they confirmed it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And the biggest reason that I thought it was the striping on their face.
Oh really?
Yeah, that's probably not the correct reason, but I've noticed a lot of my sliders have like very fine striping from like their heads down their neck. My cooters, I should say, my cooters have very fine striping. The sliders, the sliders that do have striping, is pretty bold and thick, whereas the cooters, it's super thin.
Well. See, I'm learning stuff about turtles. I mean, again, this is all new to me. This is kind of why we do this because I know nothing. You know a lot more than I do, and then someone's going to chime in and go, "Yeah, you're absolutely wrong about that."
I'm probably wrong about
that. But as far as like, what is your favorite species of aquatic turtle?
Hands down, it's called the Aubrey's flapshell turtle. It looks like a demon. It's like the best way I can describe it. Let me see if I can pull up a picture on my phone. See if it'll show through the screen. I'll definitely pop up a picture on screen for the viewers. But for Chad. So it's like a soft shell with a very weird looking face.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
That's my all-time favorite species. I'm a big fan of the soft shells, so like Florida soft shells are probably up there with my favorite species. I do really love matamatas. I would love to get some matamatas one day. I like fly river turtles. Like those are sea turtles basically. But yeah, I think
I've seen one matamata turtle in person.
Really?
And, yeah.
Only one?
Just one. I mean,
they're sweet.
It was pretty cool. I mean,
was it big?
I mean, probably about probably 10. We'll say 10 inches.
Yeah, see, you gotta wait. Like, you gotta see an adult. They get like floor like huge, dude. Like I've seen like 40-pound Mata turtles. Like at the Jacksonville
Oh,
Zoo has some monsters. Like
yeah, that's
they're crazy cool when they're big. And like at the Jacksonville Zoo is what made me love them. It's because like you look down into like this big pond. They have like Pacu in there, some smaller species of turtle, but it's like a aviary almost. So, like there's a lot of ducks and stuff. But at the very
huh.
bottom, there's like two massive, like the biggest Matas I've ever seen to this day. Still, like they're huge. They're still there.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
What about you? I know you're still very new to the game, so this answer will probably change in a year or so. But what's your favorite species?
I mean, the my favorite one that I've seen, and I think it's just a really good looking turtle, or the diamondback, the ornate
Yeah,
diamondback terrapins.
that's a good choice.
I mean, if we want to talk about aquatic turtles, all in all, um, when I lived down in Florida, we were part of this boat club, and we got to do some sea turtle releases.
Oh, that's so cool.
I guess the sea turtle counts as an aquatic turtle. I hope
It should.
not one that you can own, but so yeah, we would load up the boat with probably 5 or 6 turtles, and all the people would go out and we'd have sea turtles on the boat and
That's so
got to
cool.
release all kinds of different sea turtles and stuff. So that was a pretty neat thing, and that was actually the same place where they had like an open house. It was actually the Clearwater Marine Aquarium we worked with.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. I've been there before. I love that place.
it was before the Clearwater Marine Aquarium got big because the movie didn't come out yet.
Yeah.
So nobody ever went there, and the boat club that my parents were part of actually met there a few times. So they got to do like they got to see what was her name?
Winter.
Winter, yeah.
Yeah.
They got to see that dolphin before it was famous.
That's cool.
And like apparently one of the trainers there went into a tank or fell into a tank with a bull dolphin
Oh.
and got the crap beat out of him
Oh my gosh.
by the dolphin because it was like, you're in my space, I don't like you,
That's crazy.
I'm gonna kill you. And I was like, wow, I thought dolphins were like friendly to people, but
No,
apparently
they're
not in
assholes.
captivity.
No, I mean they're assholes in the wild too. They'll do some.
Oh,
fucked
really?
up. I mean, there are definitely lots of instances where they're nice, but for the most part, dolphins are just mean. They're portrayed as it's like bears. Like they're portrayed as nice, but they're really
Yeah.
not.
And I remember being younger, and the first place I ever really ran into a bearded dragon was there was a guy next to our booth at an open house, and he had bearded dragons, and he was like, "Here, just put this on your shoulder." I was like, "It's not going to move." He goes, "No, it's not going to move." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I just had this bearded dragon sitting on my shoulder, and it was like, "This is awesome."
That's fun.
Like, this is the coolest lizard ever. He just sat there for 2 hours just on my shoulder. I was like, "Okay, well."
Just
But
vibing.
yeah, but being able to release some of those the sea turtles, that was
Yeah, that, I mean,
was fun.
that's a special experience. That's definitely gonna make it one of your favorites.
Yeah, and I mean doing it. I think we did it 3 or 4 times,
Mm.
and so it was definitely a cool experience. Or just being out in the ocean and you're fishing, and then all of a sudden this Volkswagen pops up next to you, and you're like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And it's just this giant sea turtle, and you're like, "Well, that's cool. What's
So
going on, dude?"
would you say so? Your favorite species of turtles would be what do we say? Diamondback terrapins, Mexican musk
Yeah, we're
turtles,
talking.
and sea turtles.
I would say diamondback terrapins are my favorite accessible
Mm-hmm.
turtle, but those what were they? The green, are they the greens?
The green sea turtles.
Yeah,
They're the most common in Florida. I feel like.
those were pretty cool. I mean, just they're just so different and so neat, and being able to hold one, touch one, and all that stuff. And just the memories behind it. I mean, the sea turtles were just super cool. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, who wouldn't want to mess with a sea turtle and actually legally be able to mess with a sea turtle?
Yeah, I would love to do that.
I mean, it's super cool. I mean, it was an honor and a privilege to be able to do something like that. I can't say how cool how I can't express how awesome that experience was, and the fact that regardless of anybody, whether they like reptiles or don't like reptiles, everybody loves sea turtles.
Yeah.
So it's like sea turtles bring everybody together when it comes to reptiles, because how can you not love something that looks like that? I mean, they're really majestic when it comes to swimming around and all that stuff.
That's a big reason why I love the Fly Rivers so much, is because they're basically just freshwater sea turtles that you can legally own. I'd say like they're definitely up there in my top 5. I'd say like my top 5, like the all-time favorite would be the Aubrey's flap shell, and then not in any specific order, but I think it'd be like Fly Rivers would be up there, Matamatas. I'd put pink belly side necks up there, and then I'd probably do. I really like razorback musk turtles just because that was my first ever turtle. So
I mean the Fly River turtles are pretty cool. But I just everything from the head back reminds me of a sea turtle.
Mm-hmm.
But even their flippers are a little bit different and all that stuff. I mean, there's vast differences between them.
You're gonna hate me for this, but I love the Fly River turtle morphs. I like I do like the normals, but then the morphs are awesome.
and I guess one of the other really cool turtles are those. Oh gosh, I've talked to Chris about them a million times. They're those big-headed turtles.
Yeah, big-headeds are sweet. If I had the money, I'd have some in my collection.
Yeah, I mean they're super cool. I mean, they have this little teeny tiny shell and then this giant head. And you're like, what?
I wonder. I want to know what their bite feels like.
Are you one of those people too that's like, I wonder what this would feel like?
Oh yeah, dude. I am 100%. What does this bite feel like? I have been bit by more animals than you can think of. Like,
I mean,
it's insane.
Sometimes it's not even. Sometimes I mean, I call me weird, but it's like, I wonder what this would feel like if I did this, or like, that would probably really hurt.
That's what I'm like with the animals. Not really anything else, but the animals. I'll just like, what does this feel like?
I wonder how bad it would hurt to get stabbed with a samurai sword. Not that I'm going to do it, but it's like, I wonder how bad that would hurt. Like, huh? I mean,
it would be bad if I had a croc monitor. I would be like, what is this going to do?
I have thought about that too. It's like, and then it's like, you will hurt me. So you stay there, I'll stay here.
One day I'm gonna be like, fuck it, I'm down for a hospital trip. Come here, croc monitor.
You're not coming here.
I said I would do it with my own collection.
Or you'll sign a waiver before you do. Well, it's like we were talking about before we started recording. It's like, a big green iguana, or a big green iguana, a red iguana, blue iguana, whatever. They can do damage.
Oh yeah,
like a lot of damage. Nothing about me wants to find out how bad that hurts. I mean, I've been bit by a 10-foot Burmese python, and that hurt. But it's nothing like what a lizard's going to bite.
Yeah.
Or first snake I ever got bit by was a green anaconda.
Really?
I want to find out.
That's pretty badass.
I mean, it wasn't a big one, but I mean, it was a 4-foot green anaconda, and it did not feel good. I know I got bit on the lip by a 2-foot long green iguana, and that was the green iguana, my first reptile. And
I've been bit by a lot of big snakes. I've been bit by a lot of reptiles. It's kind of not that impressive. It's just like, I'm like, what's this gonna do? Like, it's not gonna, as long as it's not venomous and it's not like a big, like a croc monitor or a crocodilian, and it's not gonna like put me in like life-threatening danger, I'm like, fuck it. Like, we had a Woma python at the store I used to work with, and it was the meanest snake ever. Like, you walk by the cage and it's striking at you, and I would just walk over, open the cage, it would latch onto me, and then he just wrapped my entire hand, and I just worked throughout. Like, I'd be working for like 4 hours, and the snake's just wrapped around my hand, just chewing my hand, and I'm just going about my day, and then I just put him back when I'm done, drown him in water so he lets go, throw him back in his cage. But
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know. So long as it's not life threatening, it's okay. I also try not to get bit by my turtles, because this is a turtle episode. It's because the turtle bites do hurt. Like, I will say, like, I have a pretty high pain tolerance for animal bites, but turtle bites can hurt.
Well,
like a
that's
bitch.
like Chris has Bowser, the probably 13 plus inch Florida snapper,
Mhm.
and we'll chop up like squash for the tortoises or whoever's getting squash that day. Or when we had the sloths here, we would do that, and you just toss over your shoulder a piece of zucchini to Bowser, and you just hear him pop and gone. And
Yeah,
it's like,
mine was like, I had my common snapper. She's about 30 pounds, and she would destroy it. And
yeah.
obviously, I did not want to get bit, because everyone's like, don't get bit by a snapping turtle. I've always known, not always known, but I've known for a long time that a common snapper, or so I've heard, a common snapper can't take your finger, but an alligator snapper can. Now, I've heard that. Am I going to believe it? I don't know. So one day, while I had this turtle, I was like, well, I've heard that if you can, biting a carrot is the same pressure that it takes to bite a finger. Like, if you bit your finger with the same pressure as a carrot, your finger would come off. So I got a full carrot, and I just, like, basically gave it to her. She bit it, and she couldn't bite through it. And so I was like, all right, I'm good. And I never purposely got bit by this turtle, but, like, it just made me feel at ease, because I hand-fed this turtle pretty much every day. And, you know, I don't want to accidentally lose my finger. And if she bit through that carrot, I would have stopped hand-feeding her. And then, you know, 3 or 4 months roll by, I'm hand-feeding this turtle, and she gets me. She got me right here, or sorry, that was my middle finger, right on the tip of my middle finger, and, like, got my finger, pulled back, started clawing at my finger, like, trying to basically rip my finger off, and then she eventually let go, and it did not hurt at all. Like, I mean, like, did not hurt at all. The only thing that hurt me and that I really felt was the claws. Like, the claws left marks. I'll throw a video up on my screen of my finger seconds after the bite, and you can hardly tell I got bit by a 30-pound snapping turtle. Taking so long. I was very surprised. Like, I would rather get bit by her. Maybe it was the circumstance and what happened, but I mean, she yanked me back. I mean, she pulled my hand back. She tried clawing to get my finger. Like, it was a good bite, and my soft shells do more. My soft shell bites hurt. The soft shell bites hurt more than that snapping turtle. But I would never want to try that with an alligator snapping turtle. Let me preface that. I don't even want to. I would never hand feed an alligator snapping turtle. I don't think.
Well,
I don't know. I guess they are slower. I don't know. I don't want to get bit.
What I've heard about alligator snappers is they're much more gentle
Yeah, I've heard that too.
than a common snapper.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where part of me is like, yeah, I'll go do that. I'll hand feed because like I said, like I've seen videos of Justin hand feeding his alligator snappers.
Mm-hmm.
And he just holds a chicken thigh over, and they just reach out slowly and just grab it gingerly. And I'm like, huh. But like Bowser, you throw anything in there, chomp. I'm like, good God, man.
Yeah, my comment was the same way. Throw something in there, it's gone. There would be a few times, like I have it on video a couple times. I'd say 80% of the time it was when I hand fed her, coming out really fast, grabbing it, going back. Like what you would expect hand feeding a common snapping turtle / Florida snapping turtle would be like.
Yeah.
But there would be a few times where I swear she was an alligator snapping turtle. She would reach her head up, slowly open her mouth, grab it, and just slowly take it down. And I was just like, that was calm. That was unexpected. I'll take it.
And then speaking of the alligator snappers, and then you have these people in, I mean, here in Alabama, over in Arkansas, and Oklahoma, and Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. They go do that noodling stuff. They go get these big giant catfish. And they're like, oh yeah, there's alligator snappers in these waters, and we couldn't get it out. No, I'm not putting my hand in a hole where there could potentially be an alligator snapper. I'll pass. Thank you, though.
I've heard of people doing like noodling for stone crabs, and I would never do that. Stone crabs have such a bad pinch, and I was like, what? That's insane. Like,
no.
What?
Yeah, I've been got by a blue crab before, and that's miserable.
Yeah, blue crabs are bad. I can't imagine yeah, they like slice you open.
Yeah, where a stone crab just
breaks bones,
crush your finger.
Yeah, but yeah, that would suck. Reaching in to get a catfish and you just get chomped by an alligator, you'd lose your hand. If it was a big enough alligator snapping turtle, you're losing a hand.
Yeah, I assume so, but
at least a finger. At least a finger. Yeah, I don't want to test that.
No, and just like you were saying, like I think I've been bit by a soft shell turtle, and it was not fun.
No, they're little. Like my little ones hurt.
So, my dog's trying to hop up on my desk. You're not supposed to be there. No, and that's kind of that's kind of my hesitancy about getting a soft shell turtle because I know how bad their bite can be. But then again, a lot of the smaller, like some of the sliders, they'll bite you. They'll bite you good.
Yeah, oh yeah. My razorback musk turtle was, like I said, the first turtle I got, I guess, about 3 years ago now, and the first interaction I had with it after I bought it was me putting it back into its new cage, and it bit me, and it was so painful. I like it was painful. It was like a tiny little musk turtle. It was so unexpected.
And that was one of the things about, like, I get these turtles, and my son's like, I want to hold one. I'm like, let me hold it first just to see how it is. Because, and they just want to squirm out of the way. They haven't tried to bite or anything like that, not snapped or anything. And that's a refreshing thing, but it's like, he wants to hold it, and if one of these gets a hold of them, I mean, it'll hurt a kid.
Yo, definitely.
I mean, it would hurt me too, but I mean, it would really freak him out. And then the next thing I'd have is a turtle thrown across the yard because he's flinging his hand around or something. But I mean, luckily they're fairly chill. When you pick them up, they want to squirm out of the way. They're like, "Oh, let me go," and you're like, "Okay, put it back."
Was there? Did you have any setup, like any other questions besides setup related, like regarding the turtles? Because I know you mentioned you had some questions and stuff.
I mean, I'm assuming because they're river cooters, they want to have a good amount of flow. Like, does flow really matter? And things of that nature? Because
I know I said I don't run filtration, but when I do put in flow for them, I definitely notice them swimming in there. Like I would definitely give them, especially because they're pretty good size. Like I give them like some good water depth, and then like just throw in a good, like one of the same filter you have for your salty, those little paludarium filters.
Yeah.
Throw in one of those just for water flow and like have it so like almost circulates around the pond. And I would put money on it. You would notice them like just sitting in there, just swimming in the current, because I noticed mine love doing that.
Yeah. I almost might put a power head on there or something.
Yeah, like a wave maker or something like that. Or either one. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Just put a little power head on there and do that. Get some circulation through that, and then have the pump that pumps up to the top.
Yeah, that'd be ideal, actually.
I mean, I definitely thought about putting like a bristlenose pleco in there, but then I'm like, oh, if I put a bristlenose pleco in there, how how often are the turtles going to pick on the bristlenose
I
pleco?
think, like it does really depend, but I think if you got a bristlenose that was, I would say, 3/4 or the same size of the pleco or of the turtles you have now, I think it would be fine. Like
Yeah.
I don't see there being an issue with it at all. Like because I mean plecos are very armored, so I mean there's not much they can really do to them anyway, especially because they are younger
Well,
turtles.
I guess I just worry about the bristly nose of the bristle nose,
Yeah,
and they're nipping at that. Um, the other thing I thought about doing was getting some going to the bait shop and getting shiners and
oh yeah,
just
they
putting
would.
shiners
Yeah, they would love
and
that.
and see how many of them would survive and last for a good amount of time.
Hmm.
Um, but uh, but yeah, I mean, my main thing was like, and you kind of touched on it, is water parameters. I'm sure they matter to an extent, but like because they don't come out of the water and all that
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm
I
not.
don't know.
I don't know personally. I know like um the dude my buddy that I go to all the time about my turtle questions. I know he doesn't. There's probably some other breeders I know that may or may not. I'm not too sure. I haven't really asked anyone else, but
Yeah.
I don't test their water. To be honest, if I notice they're acting weird, like if I notice some fungal pops up, if I notice like something's going on with their shell or their face, I do treat them, but I don't do any water testing.
Yeah. Now, one thing I have heard, and just to confirm with you because you've been around it more. Now, one of the big differences between turtles and tortoises is turtles will actually shed their scutes, right?
Hmm.
So if I see separation on the scutes, I shouldn't be too worried because it's probably them just
Yeah,
shedding
yeah.
their scutes.
I'd say 9.9 times out of 10, it's just the scoot shedding off. I'm I've seen in some groups that like in rules and in some turtle groups I'm in not to post this, so I feel like this might not be a good thing to do. So sorry if it is and I do it. If it's bad, someone inform me. But like a lot of the times, if I see the scoot is raised over, like I can see like the normal scoot, and then I see another one like
Yeah.
prying up, I'll just like, gently pull it off like you would shed a snake, and it's super satisfying. I have a lot of full scoots that are pretty cool looking.
Sorry,
You're
I just
good.
heard something moving around back there, and I was like, "What
Geckos?
are you doing?" Yeah, it's dark, so they're all active and stuff now, or semi-dark.
It's morning time for them.
Yeah, they just woke up. So I thought I heard one just fall or something in there. So
But yeah,
uh,
I'll just gently help take those scoots off.
yeah, so just like helping a stuff shed or something like
Yeah,
that.
and
Just
if you go to gently pull it off and it feels like it's still stuck on there, just leave it. They'll get it off eventually. You'll find it in the bottom of your ponds, and you'll want to get it out because it will clog your filtration. That is one thing that will clog filtration is scoots.
well, noticed. And then the other thing, like as far as supplements or anything, do you give any supplements to your turtles?
No, I don't. To be honest, they get like the Repta sticks. Those little green sticks. There's actually half calcium, and a lot of the turtle pellets you get have calcium in them, like are made with calcium. So like
Right.
that kind of covers their calcium intake and all of that. And I keep them outside as well. Majority of my turtles I keep outside, and like I mentioned earlier, I do give them whole prey items. So I think between my varied diet, the few pellets that I give them that do have calcium already, and them being outside, I feel like they're getting their supplements like they would naturally out in the wild. Obviously, they're not eating pellets, but I mean, they're eating vegetation, they're eating fish, they're eating dead rodents or dead carcasses or anything like that. So I mean, basically eating what they're eating in the wild, just added pellets.
Yeah, so basically they're just garbage disposal. So whatever.
Oh, 100%. There is so many times where they are just garbage disposals for me. Like I have lettuce that's bad. I can't eat it. Why throw a whole bag away and just dump it in with the turtles? Turtles don't give a fuck if it's going bad.
Yeah, see, I do that with I do that with my chickens. I
Yeah.
just throw stuff out in the yard. The chickens and the ducks
Hmm.
decide to eat it. So it's like,
There's been
okay,
there's
well,
been a couple times where I'll give them I've given at least with my common snapping turtle I've given her eggs, like raw eggs, or just, and I've even given them just plain, just normal, just eggshell, and they seem to enjoy that a little bit too.
yeah. I know. I fed Bowser a few times some quail eggs
Hmm.
that were bad. Like
It's
I
so
tossed the
cool to
quail
feed
eggs,
a snapping turtle an egg. It's so sweet.
and it just kind of goes. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, my girl was eating large chicken eggs, Chad. Like I'd throw in a chicken egg and it was wild.
I'm sure mine would do. I mean, the one that is back there would do the same.
Hmm.
It's definitely big enough.
It
But
just doing like whole eggs. The only thing it's just hella messy. So I usually have to end up doing a water change immediately after because the egg gets the water all like oily and filmy and gross. Smells
yeah.
bad.
Well, I guess I'll just teach quail eggs where it just chomps them down and eats
Yeah.
them real quick. Uh, but I mean, is there anything aside from like goldfish and the rosy? What is it?
The rosies.
The rosies. Is there anything you wouldn't say that's okay to feed your turtles?
I mean, obviously the basic answer would be don't feed anything with thymazine. That's why you're not feeding goldfish and rosy minnows. But I I can't think of anything off the top of my head, to be honest. Like I want to say shiners, but because they do contain thymazine, but if you're giving them a good enough diet and they're not only eating shiners, you'll be like I say this with rosies and goldfish too. If you are like, especially for people that come into PetSmart where I work, because that's the only feeder fish we sell. Like I do tell them that it's not good for your animals, but if you're feeding your animals other items, so long as their diet isn't just solely, let's say, goldfish or rosy minnows, they'll be okay. Like they can have thymazine every once in a while. And a fish or a turtle or a crocodilian, anything that's going to eat that stuff, they're not in the wild going like hunting in the river going, oh, that bluegill over there, that shiner, he's got thymazine in him. I can't eat him. Like I'm gonna keep passing. They're just gonna eat whatever they can find. So I mean, they're eating it naturally. You just don't want to. If it's their sole thing in their diet, that's when it's an issue, or it's a majority of what you're feeding them is only fish that contain thymazine. That's when you run into issues. But you know, if you're you're feeding pellets, you're feeding greens, you're feeding let's say frozen shrimp as well. If every couple weeks you throw in shiners or rosies or goldfish, those turtles are gonna be fine. I think at least. I mean, that might not. There could be that'll probably cause a lot of argument, but I mean, think about it. And no, they're not in the wild not eating certain fish because they contain thymazine in their blood.
Yeah.
I've seen so many, like bass, for example. Do you know how many bass I've seen eat rosy minnows and shiners in the wild? Like shiners are considered one of the best bait to catch bass.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just gotta be careful with it. You don't want it being the only thing they're eating.
Yeah. Well, I just figured out the only reason I do the shiner thing is just to give them a little bit more. Just I figured it's a better option than goldfish.
I think one of the best options, and this goes for monitors as well, is convict cichlids. I think convicts are some of the best feeder fish to go with because they get about, I don't know, big ones maybe like that big. So I mean that's a good sized fish, I'd say, like 3 to 4 inches. But they breed like guppies. You set a pair up. You set a trio or a pair up in a 20-gallon, and once they get the sexual maturity, in a month or two, if you're not taking out any fish, that 20-gallon is going to be completely filled with convicts. And so they grow pretty fast too. So I mean, if you want the babies, you can feed the babies off to your smaller fish. Like if you have baby turtles, you can feed the fry off to them. Once you get sub adults to adults, you can feed those off to your bigger turtles or your bigger monitors or anything like that. I think it's like guppies. A lot of people recommend guppies as a feeder fish because they don't contain thymazine and they breed so fast. But the issue is that they're so small that you can't feed a water monitor guppies. But you could easily feed a water monitor convict cichlids. Yeah, they're small, but I mean, you give a water monitor 10 or 15 convict cichlids and it'll be full.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't disagree with that. Uh, yeah, I'm trying to think of like stimulating things to feed them. That's why the live.
I definitely do think live. A fun one, especially for younger turtles, I think yours would love it, is shrimp, like live shrimp. Like just ghost shrimp. Normal ghost shrimp are fine. You can get those at a feeder store or a fish store for dirt cheap. They love shrimp, and especially because of how they hop around. It's almost like giving a tree monitor, a grasshopper. They go crazy for it.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. What about like crayfish? You ever?
Yeah, you could definitely do crayfish. I would. You might not need to.
Mine are a little small for crayfish, but I was just.
Yeah, definitely for adults. You may not need to do this. You probably don't need to, but when I feed live crayfish, I like to break the claws off the crayfish, just because I get worried that they'll pinch at the turtles trying to eat them. But yeah, crayfish definitely work.
Well, there you go. I just gotta find crayfish.
Yeah, you can buy them on you can buy like 100 counts live on Amazon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they're massive. That'd be perfect for your y'all's big monitors and the big morlets. Like they're massive crayfish. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, send me the link because I'll look into that because I know. Not that I don't have a problem with. I mean, I have plenty of ponds and stuff here. So.
Do you know the social media account Freya the Dwarf Caiman?
Yeah.
That's it's the same crayfish that they use for all their caiman. They're the ones that sent me the link actually.
Oh, nice.
Huh. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. Who would have thought? I mean, I figured crayfish would be great. I mean, they're great bottom feeders and stuff. The only downfall of putting them in an aquarium is they will eventually start to eat your live fish.
Mm-hmm.
If they just get angry. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to dive into with it, and just trying to get it started. And
yeah,
I mean, I'm assuming they're probably at that size at least a year old. I would think.
Yeah, I'd say around. It's so hard to judge any reptile's age without knowing the exact date of birth because size and growth depends on so many different factors. But I would say about a year and a half.
Yeah. And my son and I have already been in talks about, let's take a pond and make a pond outside where we can have
definitely should.
A good amount of flow.
Like get one of those ponds from Chris, one of those universal.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, just grab a pond and build a pond in the backyard. I guess the other thing is, I mean, obviously in your tubs you have out back, you don't put any substrate in them.
I do. I do in some, actually. I used to not have any substrate in any. But then with the soft shells, I wasn't having any issues with no substrate with my spiny soft shell and my albino Chinese soft shell. But then I got a new Florida soft shell, just a normal one. And I heard that when soft shells don't have substrate, they get like these white spots on them, and then it eventually causes death. And I noticed he started getting white spots on him, so I ended up giving him substrate, and the spots slowly went away. So I don't know what the substrate did to change that, but I added substrate to any pond that has soft shells in it. So one of my big ponds, I recently added a big, maybe not a big, but a juvenile, a subadult Florida soft shell to it. So I did add a bunch of gravel and stuff into that pond about a month and a half ago.
Oh, so you're using gravel with your soft shells, not sand?
With that adult, yes, it's very fine gravel, so you can still bury under it. It's like just normal fine aquarium gravel. I've used it for eels and stuff to bury under, so like I know it's possible for them to bury. But I do have sand with my baby ones. I prefer sand. The only issue is just the big Rubbermaid ponds is they unscrew to drain, and the drains at the very bottom. And if I did sand, it would just all pour out when the water comes out. Whereas the gravel, it's weighted, so it doesn't really pour out with the water. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. Well, I forgot that you have the I don't know why I thought you just and I thought you were siphoning them all out. So
no, I drain it from the bottom. There's been a couple times where I've siphoned because the plug got stuck, but that was hell. Like I legitimately had 4 hoses draining the pond, and it took like 30 to 40 minutes just to drain. Whereas when I unscrew it, it takes not even 5 minutes. It drains so fast.
I just got a Snapchat for fish. I wonder what it's about.
I did too, actually. I bet you there's an electric blue day gecko.
Don't tell me that, because you know how badly I want them. It's definitely a cool venture. I mean, they're outside, so I'm not worried too much about heat and UVB right now. Because, I mean, obviously, if they come inside in the wintertime, I'll probably put them in the garage in the tub that they're in now if they go into a pond.
From my understanding, river cooters are native to Alabama, so they should be fine. I mean, if you want to be extra safe about it, you can just throw an aquarium heater in, but they should be fine year round.
Yeah, I've also heard about some turtles, like I know the snappers, when it gets cold out, they'll go and burrow themselves deep underground and hibernate.
Yeah. A lot of turtles will go into hibernation. So pretty much any of the sliders and cooters will as well. So like all of my sliders and cooters over this past winter were all outside, no heaters, and it got down like there was nights where it was in the 30s and 40s. I think water temp maybe got down to I think the coldest it would have gotten would be maybe high 40s, low 50s. Yeah. And they were completely fine. I still have them all. I did have one turtle pass away during the winter, which I want to say was because of the cold, but it was a very, 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 very old turtle. I think he was I think the lady said it was like 25 or 30 years old, which I guess it's not super, super old, but that's pretty damn old for a reptile, and he wasn't really doing the best, so hindsight, I probably should have brought him inside, but I figured all the rest were doing fine, like with hibernating and everything, so I left him, and I don't think that did good for him. But for the most part, so long as they have a deep enough water that is deeper than 12 or 14 inches, 12 to 14 inches, they should be okay. You just don't want the water to completely freeze over.
Because I know it gets about, like this past winter, we had the coldest it got was 8 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And it was extremely cold. Like, I wouldn't want anything outside. I mean, our pond out in our backyard, like the actual fish, not the fish pond, but the pond that's a natural pond, it was frozen over to where my dog was running across it.
See, and so like turtles can live in ponds that are completely frozen over. Like the tops, like the first 6 inches can be frozen over, so long as like the entire body of water doesn't get frozen, they'll be fine. If the water is going to freeze over the top like that, obviously it depends on turtle species. Like you want to have deep depth, and then if you can add a good thick layer of substrate, like 6 to 8 inches of substrate, do that so they can bury under the substrate and get warm as well. But make sure you have deep water for them if it's going to freeze over the top, and do have a source of water movement, just so there's at least one area of the pond that is going to be water. It's not going to be iced over because there's that water movement. That way they have some aeration and can breathe.
Yeah. So what I think I'm going to do is, because I'm getting ready, like I said, I want to do that outdoor pond and whatnot. I'll figure out a way to put a little fence around it or something like that so they don't get out. But what I might do is bury one of those Rubbermaid tubs
Yeah,
and
definitely.
put like some cocoa fiber and stuff like that in there, and, or some topsoil sand mix, and so that way, if they wanted to burrow, they have this nice spot where they could burrow and get down in there and hibernate. Because,
Hmm.
like I said, those snappers this year, they were in the
Well,
porch of the reptile building
when I'm
and
talking
ended
about
up.
burrowing, I mean like they're burrowing under the water.
Oh well, these snappers actually burrowed. They got out of the pond and burrowed all the way down to the bottom of that
Really, that's cool.
waterland.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
it makes sense. But that's cool. That's really cool.
and I know that like I know that fox turtles do the same thing.
Yep. Hmm.
They'll bury themselves down in the dirt.
I think wood turtles. There's definitely a few species of turtles that do. I didn't realize snapping turtles were one of those species.
I didn't either until one day I went out there to go feed them and check on them, and I was like, "Where'd you guys go?" And what's funny is this was after like all the cold was really there, and it was like, "Where'd the snapping turtles go?" And I'm like, so I'm digging down in the dirt, and they're all the way down to the bottom, and it's just like this suspended state, and I'm like.
Huh. That's crazy.
I called Chris. I was like, "Do snapping turtles hibernate?" He goes, "I think so." And I was like, "Well, because they just buried themselves all the way down to the bottom of the dirt and the waterland." He goes, "Guess that makes sense." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll go with that."
Yeah.
So it was definitely a freak out moment. I mean, they're bigger snappers. And,
there was definitely lots of moments where I was freaking out this past because this is the first time I've ever had turtles out during the whole winter, and there was definitely moments where I was freaking out, like lots of mornings where I was waking up or still awake and going out and checking on the turtles multiple times, like 1, 3, 4, 5 in the morning type thing, just to make sure that they're completely okay during the coldest of the cold. It was a brutal winter.
Again, the difference between your cold and my cold is a few degrees.
Yeah.
So. but yeah, it's like I said, like the biggest thing is, and I promise I don't recommend this to anybody. This was just kind of one of those things that got thrown on me. Make sure you do research before you get animals. And if you can't do your research, find out as much as you possibly can right after you get them, especially in a rescue situation.
Hey, luckily, you have plenty of friends that are very experienced with reptiles, so you got plenty of people to go to.
And I had so much stuff at the ready
mm-hmm.
that I could take them from being in a 20-gallon long to go into now a 50-gallon tub,
Sweet.
50-plus gallon tub.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're happy. I mean, I got to do some stuff to the tub and get some other things figured out, but it's not going to be. I mean,
sounds like you're on the right track.
What was that?
I said it sounds like you're on the right track. So you got a hold. You know what you're doing. You got it worked out.
Well, I've seen these videos that somebody posted on YouTube and kind of figured out how to set up a turtle.
I wonder whose videos you may be talking about.
I don't know. I mean, when my counterpart is Mr. Turtle over here, and then I can call Justin, and Justin can tell me anything I need to know about it too. And it's like,
you got enough turtle people on your side.
and I really kind of hate that you're rubbing off on me, because now I have all this turtle stuff going on. And I was talking to you earlier about, I need to get a grow tent for an iguana that I have.
I'm changing you.
You're not changing me. It's just I need something that is okay and safe for an iguana to grow up in.
Next thing you know, those gargoyle cages are going to be tents.
No, these are nuts.
No, I love those. I'll pop it up now, the part when you're showing those off in the beginning of the podcast.
But look at that, pothos.
Wow, that looks great, dude. Holy crap.
So, exact same soil. Exact same everything. Nothing.
It looks like the pothos just hasn't started climbing yet. I'd maybe try and lean a leaf or two onto the background, try and see if you can induce it, because those are really nice.
Yeah, And I'll have to get the link uh, to where they're actually from because it does have a website on here.
Yeah, I'll throw the website link down in the description below for y'all.
Yeah, but like this is the old company. It's Protein
Mm-hmm.
or Protein Terrarium Design. So if you type in Protein Terrariums, these things pop up, and they make all different sizes. I think they make one of these up to 4 foot tall.
Oh wow, that'd be awesome.
And yeah, and what's really cool is they're on this baker's rack, and they're designed to fit on a baker's rack.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And, I mean, they're a well-priced glass terrarium. I mean, with glass, they're heavy, but I mean, it's all glass except for a little spot on the top that's a screen top, so you can put your UVB on there and your heat on there. And I mean, I just have those little twin domes on top of these,
That's perfect.
just to provide light and a little bit of heat for the daytime, just mainly for the plants. And just great. So, I don't know. I'm happy with them. I'm happy with the diversity of what you can do with aquatic turtles. And like I said, we already have the ponds and whatnot where we're going to potentially do a little turtle pond in the backyard and stuff.
It'll be interesting, and it'll be fun to see what species you end up acquiring. We already know you're getting some Mexican musks from Justin. I'm giving you.
No, I don't know that for certain.
Well, I have a feeling you're going to end up buying some Mexican musks from Justin.
Yeah,
I got you with that pink belly pair.
Yeah,
we know you're going to get
have
some
the
cool
pink
stuff.
belly. Which that would actually be really cool because the ponds aren't as deep as I'd like them to be for some of the bigger turtles.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be really cool to have those pink belly side necks in there.
Yeah.
I mean, have a 200-gallon pond and a shallower pond and have those out there.
They would love
in
that.
the wintertime breeding stuff.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
So,
those guys would definitely need to be brought inside. They're super, super cold sensitive.
Yeah, so probably into September, bring them inside. They won't go back outside until April.
Yeah.
March, April. So, because we still had nights that were getting into the 40s up through April.
Holy crap. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Alabama, that's crazy. Let me tell you.
Well, anything else we want to talk about turtle-wise before we end this episode here?
You know, we're gonna end the episode, and I'm gonna think of something, and then I'm just gonna text you and be like, "Hey, I forgot to ask you about this." So, I mean,
We'll definitely be talking about more turtles in the future. There's so much to go over.
For some strange reason, I think I'm gonna end up with more turtles here sooner rather than later because somebody's rubbing off on me too much. But
definitely,
there's worse things that can happen. Don't buy more reptiles.
Yeah, I mean, hey, at least it's not drugs.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but it's kind of same, different. It's an addiction, just
not as deadly unless it's big monitors, crocodile ants, and venomous. Then it could be as deadly.
It's true. Or unless you don't wash your hands and get salmonella.
Yeah, turtles could end your life.
Yeah.
But
so. All right, guys. Well, I don't have any more questions for Gavin. I mean, if you guys think of questions, Gavin's the man when it comes to aquatic turtles, and if he doesn't have the answer, he'll point you in the right direction. So
yeah, I definitely don't know everything, but I can help you all out to my best ability, and hopefully send you to someone who knows what they're actually talking about. But hope you all enjoyed this episode.
And if you want, and if you definitely want some good turtle content, go check out Aqua Rep on YouTube. He's got some pretty good videos.
Actually working on making a video now. There should be a video dropping. Well, y'all are okay. There should be a video dropping today. If you're watching this podcast on Saturday when it goes live, there'll be a video dropping later today about turtles. So be on the lookout.
Yeah, right. So, all right, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and as always, check us out Saturdays at 12 Eastern.
Yep, and y'all have a great day. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment, share the podcast, please, and let us know what you guys think about. All of our social medias will pop up right here underneath us, and all the links and stuff will be down in the description.
All right, guys.
All right.
That's a wrap for tonight.
Peace out. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. See you next week, guys.